Hi, I'm Ali Patterson. On this episode of Future Banking, I meet up with John Newton from Alfresco to talk about document and content management.
Just get stuff done in hours rather than days.
I also head over to Nationwide and MetroBank to talk about some of the core challenges facing banks today. But first, I'm going to head over to Nice Systems to talk about some of the problems that banks face when trying to communicate with their customers.
There are a number of challenges, but to highlight the most important ones as we see it, one of them is more cultural change. Back at the day, the suppliers dictated how we interact. And same for the banks. They told us that they are willing to accept us between 9 to 5 in a certain branch. People today are much more accustomed to do things their own way. They would like to dictate how they'd like to interact with the bank. It can be a mobile application, it could be online, it could be a social media, it could be chat, it could be walk-in into a high street branch of a bank. And I'd like to do it on my own time and when it's preferred by me. This is one of the big changes that we see about becoming more customer-centric. The banks would have to adopt, and they have been adopting, into the new ways of customer interaction. Number two is what we call the cross-channel. Although we want to think that an interaction is kind of a siloed situation, when I'm calling a call center and my issues are resolved, in real life it's not really the case. Most people, when we discuss online, are actually starting an interaction on the online, Googling and logging into their account and with an attempt to do a certain activity, a transaction. What we see is that in many cases, they want to do more and they're unable to, or they need more authorization and they have to do some more steps that they're not, either can't do online or the bank will not allow them for certain reasons, security being one of them. And then they need to call a call center. So great, so I'm ringing up my bank number. The last thing, after I'm following my simple authentication, which has to be done, the last thing that I would like to hear is that, "Hi, Mr. Yaniv, how can I help you?" I'd like to hear, "Yes, Mr. Yaniv, we know that you now try to get a loan online and you're stuck. And let me walk you through the next steps of the way and clear you the loan." Starting from scratch each and every time, over and over again in multiple channels, it's a tedious task. Customers hate it.
I think the number one complaint from a call center is having to say it time and time again.
Yes, exactly. And the customer experience has to be from the customer's point of view, not from the care point of view, not from the branch. In many cases, we see people walking into a branch, buying a new product, could be a loan or whatever, and then they need to make some sort of next best task. And then they call care or they're trying to log in on a mobile application. And from their experience, it's one experience. The fact that each and every time I'm starting from scratch, it's something that we see customers less and less tolerant to do that. It's waste of time, and we know that how much time and how much money is being spent on call centers. And look at the customer experience.
But why is this the case? And what core challenges does a bank actually face? I met with Craig Donaldson from MetroBank to discuss this further.
I think the core challenges are all legacy, whether it be the legacy of the technology with the lack of investment that has been put into banking, the lack of focus on customers and understanding what customers want, or the lack of focus on building trust. You know, to me, it's all about dealing with the legacy of the past to build the future now. We built all of our systems over the last 4 years, so therefore we've been able to take the best technology available. But the important thing to me is understanding that you're going to write that off over a sensible period of time. We've just literally had a huge upgrade 3 years in, huge new technology. So we've all now got the HTC Windows 8 phones. We've all now got the tablets, so we're working on Samsung tablets, meaning that I can log on from anywhere and do my CRM, update my customer records, etc. And that's about, you need to be able to write off technology in a sensible period of time so you can keep upgrading and keep focusing on delivering to the customers. I think too many organizations, this to go to the legacy, they're still using 2003 Microsoft that stopped being supported by Microsoft 2 years ago. They don't upgrade and they don't think about the upgrade path to stay at the cutting edge. And that's what customers want. They want focus on them with the technology to support them.
MetroBank distinguishes itself with its branches. I went on to Nationwide to
talk about what role the branch will have in the future.
The role of the branch is vital. It's going to be about advice and convenience. The challenge with the branch, like any channel, is integrating it in one cohesive customer experience. It's not about one channel versus another. It's about understanding what the customer needs are and ensuring that we have a holistic approach to serving those needs. When you're out and about having a spot of lunch doing your shopping, you will nip into a branch. When you have a very important decision to make, you're probably going to do that in a branch. The investment choices that you're likely to make will be done in branches, would be my proposition. And as I said, there's a convenience factor as well. And of course, mortgages. I don't think anyone's going to apply for a mortgage just yet through their mobile telephone, even though technically you probably could, barring regulation.
It does seem, from Nationwide standpoint, that the branch is here to stay. But what about MetroBank?
Obviously, MetroBank, we've been informing about your branches today.
Yeah.
It's a different sort of branch. I mean, what role do you think that branches are going to play sort of going into the future?
First of all, it's a store. We don't call it a branch. We don't call it a branch. And the reason why we call it a store is because we want to give a retail experience. When people walk through our doors, I don't care whether they're a billionaire or a busker, I want them to be welcomed and looked after. They're a customer. And our job's to make them feel comfortable and let them know that we're there to serve them. With regard to where do I see stores going long term, I always believe there'll be a space for stores. I love what John Lewis talk about. John Lewis say that their job is to be channel agnostic. They want to offer the same great service through whatever channel a customer chooses to deal with them through, because it should be a customer choice. If you're a service-focused organisation, if the customer wants to deal with you through whatever channel, our job is to make sure the choice is there for the customer to decide. And that's what we're doing. And therefore, for me, stores will always be important because customers want them.
In fact, I was so impressed at the experience at MetroBank, I actually went and opened an account myself.
Just about 23 minutes in there, got my new card, printed out, all everything signed up, current account just like that. Leave it with dog box. But why do we still have branches? It seems that people have problems when it comes to actually trusting their banks.
I think every organisation needs to demonstrate that it's trustworthy. I mean, it goes without saying. Nationwide, with its brand, has distinguished itself about doing the right thing for customers for some time now. And it's great to see the industry as heightened awareness of the prioritisation of that. I think what we also need is to balance the challenge of regulation, the cost of regulation and being compliant, which of course we are, with the challenge of innovating. What I mean by that is, in economies that are difficult, as we have right now in the UK, prioritising innovation isn't always the easiest thing to do, but we do need to innovate for the future.
It seems when it comes to innovating, we need to bring all of our systems together in more of an omni-channel presence.
The thing we should note first of all is customers don't talk about omni-channel and multi-channel and anything else channel. What a customer wants is just to be able to get their banking done quickly, conveniently and accurately, and where there's a need for greater thought, because there's more value in the decision that they're taking, they want to be certain that they're getting good advice, sound advice in the most appropriate form for them. So what banks need to do is to recognise that we have a proliferation today of devices and means to talk to customers, and just take a step back from being too technical about it and just recognise, you know what, people just want to bank when they want to bank, and they probably don't think about it as much as we do. So yes, we need to integrate, and I think the biggest challenge will be with IT systems, getting them all to talk to one another, some of our processes, and be mindful as to the type of conversations and transactions that are going on in those channels. What I mean by that is, one shouldn't be providing advice for a very life-changing decision, for example, over Twitter, but helpful tips and hints and pointing people to information that's available probably is useful. But there's other means to provide that more integrated experience, and I think just talking about an individual device.
I went to speak with Alfresco about how to actually use big data in the real world.
It's a technique that many industries are using right now, and I think banking is actually in the lead because of just their knowledge and experience of handling and using data and statistics. This is where big data truly meets content. It's one that I know a lot of vendors just kind of throw out, oh yeah, big data and it's content and it's all related, and you have no idea how the two kind of mesh together. They're just trying to ride a wave. But in this particular instance, actually having the context, the metadata tied to information and understanding customer patterns is really important. Having other channels of knowing what your customers are doing in a non-intrusive way, obviously. It really should be opt-in as opposed to opt-out. But if you do have that, then having the metadata with the right level of content communication can actually deliver a delightful experience to the customer as opposed to an annoying experience to the customer.
But with all of this big data, it raises the issue of how to actually monetize this information.
We are able to aggregate data from various sources, analyze it, and actually provide actionable insights to the decision makers, whoever they may be within a bank. One way to monetize it, just to follow up on your example, is that we know since you got married, I've been married for 15 years, so now you probably will need more loans and you may want to buy a house. And for me, it's a trigger point, knowing that information, that you got married, not only to congratulate you and enhance the customer experience and your willingness to recommend my bank, which is very important, it is also a trigger for me to say, okay, you moved to another phase in your life. And we in the bank know exactly what it means because we serve hundreds of thousands of people like you. So we can actually promote offerings, loans, mortgages, whatever, that are now tailored to the exact needs of your point in your personal life.
But how best to actually communicate your message? Print or digital?
I don't look at it as a contest between printed and non-printed solutions. I look at it as, number one, an issue of relevance and timeliness. And what I mean by that is whether I get a printed promotion or communication of some sort versus a digital one, it needs to be delivered to me in a timely manner. So is this relevant for me at this point in time? And it needs to offer me something that's relevant for the decisions that I may be making at that point in time. For example, it's probably quick and convenient for me to get a notification on my phone about pre-approved offers that my bank might be able to offer to me. I'm probably less likely to respond to those. But then there's many recycling bins across the UK filled with letters of pre-approved loan offers. So I don't think it's about print versus digital. I think it's about timing and relevance.
Of course, with all of these documents, electronic and non-electronic, it's not just about promotion, it's about internal processes as well.
A lot of processes that were paper are just going away. I think banking has been at the forefront of automating a lot of these processes that had been paper before. We are at that flex point where it's not just more convenient to handle things electronically. It is far more expensive to handle it as paper now. So you see things like paperless mortgages now, paperless contracts that are far more efficient, far more reliable, just get stuff done in hours rather than days in terms of the actual transaction.
When it comes to all software innovation, a bank needs to know about the bottom line.
The highest proportion of IT is probably spent in the financial services industry. It's, I forget the actual number, it's around 20%, 20+% of the cost of operations is in IT systems. You compare that to the chemical industry where it's 3% or something like that. It's just really important that you make the most out of that. And I think open sources played a really important role of cutting down the cost of that. But when you look at handling paper and handling information, having an efficient, effective content system is an important part of that overall IT operations, and it can cut the bottom line because such a large percentage of spend in terms of operations is in IT and in handling paper.
I think Nationwide and any other organisation that is savvy will be guided by the customers. It's about choice, isn't it? Some customers will prefer and will choose to do things themselves online, and we need to make it very easy for them to do so.
Yeah.
Others still prefer to speak to someone. We don't have any plans in Nationwide to automate all of our customer interactions, but we do, and we should, like any good organisation, respond to the customer demand. So again, it's about choice. If customers choose to serve themselves, we should offer that. If they don't, they should have that alternative.
This in turn raises the question of how this will affect a bank's communications with its customers.
In terms of that communication, reputation is still got to be one of the biggest issues that people, that companies really need to be able to address. And part of that is to demonstrate security, and you can only demonstrate security through transparency. Transparency means being able to collect the information and be able to present it in the most effective way, which again is often a content and document problem, to be able to take and communicate this with the regulatory authorities, with the news media, with the customers themselves, and be ready to address any particular instance or issue, and to demonstrate, we know what we're doing, and you can trust us with our money, and you can trust us with that really valuable information as well.
On the next Future Banking, I head over to Stockholm to talk to Tieto about core banking practices. I also speak with Nordnet about how else to enhance the customer experience.